How's everybody doing? This is Will from Sick Psyche, and in this week's video, we're gonna do this project that we've been talking about and thinking about doing for a long time, and it's finally putting a tank inside the wall. We chose a 75 gallon because it's not too big, not too small, and we can actually do a lot of different variations of fish in combination. So let's get to it. Installing a 75-gallon fish tank into a wall is a unique and rewarding project. It can both transform a space while giving your fish a stylish and functional home and saving floor space at the same time. In this video, we're going to break down the steps involved in getting this tank into the wall. The first thing I had to do before making any cuts or decisions was talk things over with my wife and make sure she was in agreement with this. And after getting her ultimate approval, I reached out to a couple of contractors so I can get some quotes. So the contractor I went with was Rajie S. He's a local general contractor in my neighborhood, and he came by, took some measurements, showed him the equipment along with the tank, and he decided to draw up a rough draft. Just a rough draft of where the tank's gonna go in the wall. So the next couple days we'll be getting it all done. So now that it was game day, Raj used a stud finder to find the studs in the wall and mark them all, and he was prepared to make the cuts. So for a 75-gallon tank, you would need a space that is about 48 inches long, 21 inches deep, and 24 inches high. For me, I chose this spot because it had a closet on the backside, which would allow easy access to maintain the tank, as well as put my filtration and everything out of sight of general people coming in and out of my house. So now as Raj is making his cuts, I'm watching closely just because I'm a little nervous because it's cutting into the wall. But he carefully cut along the markings with the drywall saw, being mindful of where the electrical wiring or if there was plumbing in this wall, making sure he didn't hit anything behind the wall. Once the hole was cut into the wall, it was time to frame the opening, using 2x4s to create a sturdy frame around the hole. This frame will support the weight of the tank and distribute it evenly across the wall studs. Luckily for me, the original studs that were in the wall were in the exact locations needed to provide adequate support for the fish tank. We did not have to add additional supports, which means this process was that much easier to complete. So with the help of the contractor, we decided to do a dry fit, and we carefully lifted the fish tank and placed it into the framed opening. We had to mark spots at the top of the tank to make minor adjustments to ensure a proper and snug fit. After making the adjustments, we put the tank back into the wall, ensuring it was resting evenly on the studs and also ensuring it was perfectly level or as close to it as we could get. Now that the tank was in the wall, sitting comfortably on the stand, it was time to tackle the power issue. So since there was a power outlet located on the outside of the wall that does not get used, the carpenter recommended that the best solution would be to add a jumper from the outside to the inside of the wall for the tank. He checked the fuse box to make sure that the fuse was large enough to support it, and after verification, the jumper box was added. So now that the tank's in the wall, the hole is cut, all the measurements are right and on point, and I'm happy with it, I was excited to get to setting up the tank. I decided to go with Aqua Natural Galaxy Sand for my substrate since I was going with the community tank setup for this tank. And I also used the same piece of driftwood from the old setup that was when this 75 gallon was previously set up. And I added fake plants to give it more of a natural look and to give the fish natural hiding places. I also added 2 pieces of slate rock with fake plants attached to help fill out the space of the tank. Next, I placed my heater, my air stone, and my already cycled Fluval 407 filter into place, and it was time to fill up the tank with some water. So while the tank was filling, I did visual checks around the tank to ensure there were no leaks, that I didn't crack my tank or just do anything, break a seal in the moving from downstairs to upstairs. And also while I'm doing this, as the water was filling, I was checking all my equipment, ensuring my heater actually came on, was still working properly. Once the water reached a comfortable level, I turned the filter on to ensure it was functioning as it should and that there were no leaks anywhere. So once the tank got almost full, I do like I do with all of my tanks. I added my Sea-Chem Prime and Sea-Chem Stability to the tank. For fish stocking, I decided to move my 4 angelfish that have been doing great in my 150 gallon South American tank as they would be the largest fish in this tank. I then decided on some tiger barbs, Congo tetras, and botsmani for the stocking with the angelfish. I chose these fish because they were community schooling fish, even though the tiger barbs are known to be nippers of fins, so I had to keep a close eye on them with the angelfish, and luckily for me, I've had no issues. So now that the fish were in the tank and I was happy with the way it looked, I only had one last thing to do, and that was to paint the crown molding going around the tank, so that way it gave it more of the picturesque feel. So for this part, the first thing I did was I taped off around the crown molding on the outside, and then I put a piece of plastic over the actual tank and taped it in place to ensure that I didn't get any paint on the glass or actually on my wall. And then I actually put a piece of plastic on the bottom of the floor and taped everything off so that I could safely paint this tank without damaging any of the other spaces. After painting the crown molding, I gave it about 2 coats to ensure that every part was covered and there were no spots left off. I gave it time to dry, and then I peeled everything off. All of my tape and masking, I pulled everything off, and this is the finished product we have today. And there you have it. With careful planning and attention to detail, these are the steps that I took to get my 75-gallon tank from my basement, and is now considered a stunning feature in my wall. Remember to regularly maintain your tank, monitor the water quality, and check for any signs of wear. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to click that like and subscribe, and happy fish keeping.